on this computer.
Peace, everybody. Peace, everybody. Peace to the beautiful ladies on the screen. Grand rising, good night, grand afternoon, whatever it is for you when you watch this. We are back, y'all. We back with another episode of Out the Loop. Okay, episode 5. Cheers to episode 5. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. All that. Y'all, so let me just start this episode off by saying your girl done overbooked herself, honey. I'm really supposed to be on the volleyball court warming up. Yet I'm here with y'all, my out the loopers, okay? Because one thing about it, baby, we're gonna stay out the loop, okay? So to my left on my screen, I have the lovely Gillian. And then to my right, I have the lovely Reshonah. We're gonna go ahead and get into this episode about how we stand out the loop with this overbooking thing. Because what are we doing? Y'all, what are we doing, y'all? We got to stay out the loop, honey. When you're supposed to be somewhere, you're supposed to be somewhere, okay? We're going to stop overbooking. We're going to stop going to these jobs that, we ain't supposed to be at. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to get out the loop that way. With that being said, Miss Gillian, okay? Because y'all know, I don't know if y'all know it or not. Well, she told y'all. But my girl, honey, she all the things, okay? So Miss Gillian gonna start it out by telling us how we can get out of this loop with working these jobs and doing our soul missions, how we can balance the two if we have to work, right? Because we're not telling y'all to leave y'all jobs and just go broke, right? Because that's a little bit crazy, right? But there is a way that we can balance the two until our soul's work, right, is ready to come forth. All right. So Miss Gillian, go ahead and take it over from here, my love.
Bam, 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 bam. Thank you, Jamesia.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic because if you don't have the bank to just leave your job and work on what it is that you want to do, then it's probably not a good idea to leave your job, although I did with a little savings. But when I did, I ended up being the prompting was for a reason, and I ended up being led to doing what it is that I needed to do in order to be to journey out the loop of 3D jobs, competing with Soul's Mission, and so on and so forth. So, how do we get out the loop of double booking and overbooking and having to do this work to make the money to ultimately be out of that 3D job loop? Is by doing the work to know yourself and to know what it is that you're really here to do, which is your soul mission work. So and also doing the work, if you can't leave the job, the 3D job right away, doing the work to know or understand how to be in that 3D job in a healthy way. Because when I left, I was completely burnt out, potentially at the time, didn't know, with a potentially, we call it, life-taking condition. And so I definitely had to go at the point where I had to go, but I ended up coming back in because I was told that is where during meditation, I was told that is where I needed to be, but I was able to handle it because I had done my work on understanding who I really am, what I'm really here to do, and why I needed to be there back in 3D work while working on my soul's mission. So it is important to know yourself and to do the work to understand how to deal with it. So deal with it in, by that I mean, these jobs can be soul sucking and very stressful
Yeah.
because they make demands on your time and your energy in
Mhm.
order to keep you, it's designed to keep you in a space where you can't do anything else but that work. You can't do family, you can't do even the
Volleyball.
side hustles, volleyball, right? And so when you work on yourself, you develop the ability to know ultimately that you're not in it alone. You're here with a team, a quantum team, a supernatural team, a spirit team, who is there to help you through that aspect of it, because they don't, some of them are recently transitioned, so they understand about the 3D job thing. But
Mhm.
then there are others who don't. So they're there to support us through that 3D job thing. And when you understand that, you can call in your help. And that's
Mhm.
how I do it.
Yeah, that's so good.
Well,
Go ahead.
I wanted to kind of chime into that because you asked a good question, Jamesia, and it was great for her to start. But I wanted to dig in a little deeper because, right, how do we get out the loop of the job? And I think that being part of your book opening was great, right? So Gillian Thomas wrote this book, right? And it's basically called Thriving Through Chaos.
Mhm.
And I think that this is important because this is actually the part that segues you kind of like out of the loop, right? Out of the loop,
Ain't got mine yet, y'all.
out of the job, as well as going back in. But there's a deep story because something happened for you to really understand yourself, right? We went through 2020, and that kind of changed everyone's perspective of forcing them to look deep within themselves to say, oh, this really is not for me. Whether it's going back to a job or sending your child to school, it was about now being creative and figuring out how do I now take my time back, but at the same time utilize it to really do something more advantageous for my soul, right? And so, Jillian, if you could just chime in a little more of how we even actually got to this book, because this book is amazing. I'm sure we're all thriving, but we're always trying to figure out how the hell do I get through my chaos? Because chaos is going to happen.
Correct.
At the same time, it's another way for us to ascend. But she was able to utilize this to take a break, to get back in the force of something because Spirit told her to get back into, which allowed her still have peace of mind through that ascension, which is challenging. So please take it away.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Reshonah. Always looking out. Thank you.
You know it, girl. I'm a 3.
So yeah, thriving through chaos, be on your spiritual grind so that you bounce back quickly from life's curveballs and pandemics too. I didn't even know I was going to write this book. February 14th, 2020, I walked away from my job. I was shell shocked because I was so what do you call it? And even up to the last minute, I was working on a list of things that needed to be done on the cases that I had. And it took me probably 6 months to release that exhaustion and to be able to get out of bed before 12 p.m. or even 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But I didn't know at the time the pandemic was coming. I didn't know at the time that I was going to be writing this book. So I wrote during the, what was it, spring of 2020, spring going into summer. Everybody was panicking, what's going on? I'm gonna die, and so on and so forth. And so I figured I would put together a little manual on crystals and herbs and so on that we can use to stay healthy and keep our vibes up during the course of whatever was happening. Because I was just chilling, and that turned into Thriving Through Chaos, a manual. And in the book, I talk about, the book is divided into two parts. The first part is about the job and how once we start to get that inkling that something right and this ain't it, it's a point of actual repentance where we're supposed to give up that idea that the 3D work is it, we work until we retire and to this beautiful retirement, and we then go on cruises for the rest of our life. Into the understanding that this is the point when we're supposed to start remembering who we are and tap into that memory to project us to a higher level of being than what we had become accustomed to. Because when we come into this realm through the birthing process, we eventually forget before we get to, we're made to forget who we are. So inevitably, we get to the point where we start to feel these urges, these promptings. And so this book, ultimately, it's about taking responsibility for ourselves, using the physical tools to help us to tap in, and ultimately becoming masters of who we are here to be. So I would say it's well written. But I think I might be going off the question that Reshonah asked.
Honey, you doing your thing, baby. People need to know about this book. It's all good.
Right. I guess driving through chaos of how to get out your job into something that you love. Because here's the truth. Driving through chaos doesn't really mean that you should quit your job. It means that the job that you're doing might not be for you, and find the right position, career that is for you, that is aligned with your soul. That's what we're saying, right? Everyone's not meant to be an entrepreneur. Everyone's not ready to be the boss, but everyone has a soul mission. And I say that, like, for instance, example, a nurse. You have to be soulfully involved to want to help people to be a nurse. This people's soul's mission. Versus, let's say, and I'm not knocking anybody who's working for McDonald's or for Walgreens, that might be a temporary step to your soul mission. Maybe you are
maybe
about
you're supposed to own a
customer
McDonald's
service.
franchise, but go ahead, Reshonah.
Right. Own a franchise instead, right? So maybe that job position, because a job is a temporary thing. A career is something that's life, right? And then that might switch. So you have to open the difference between a job and a career and your soul mission. And your soul mission might be part of your career and not your job. But your job might start you off to understanding your career and your soul purpose. Does that make sense, guys?
Absolutely.
And you have to know the difference. In order to do that, you have to start understanding yourself. I love it. Because what happens is, when you start getting in these positions, whether it's your job or career, soul mission, you're going to start feeling this excitement. You're going to start feeling alive. There's an energy that flows within you that knows that you are doing your purpose, but you also need guidance and support. And so sometimes it is about, I'm feeling this and I'm transitioning and it feels chaotic, but how do I thrive with that while I'm going through this, right? How do I actually realize the prompt that I'm giving is for me, but it seems chaotic, but I know it is because it's leveling me up.
Yeah.
Those are the tools that you need, because you'll end up running away thinking that your prompts and your spirit team is crazy and you're conflicting with your feelings. But I guarantee you, when you take time with self, it is telling you right. Things start happening in synergy and you start feeling vibrant. And maybe you might just say, I'm out of that job you've been in, and you're not looking at the currency. You're just looking at something's not feeding my soul. Because once you take that leap of faith, I tell you, this universe puts things in place like no one's business. When you take that leap of faith, I'm telling you, things start aligning. And I'm gonna jump into my story, because thank you, Gillian, sorry for my chaos. I was there, and I literally got let go of my job in 2012 because I am a number 3, a 7, and a 5, and I am alive. I'll be moving. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a serial entrepreneur, passionate about financial literacy and community. And even though I was into health, I was doing Affinity Health. On the back end, I was doing Mona V and other, MLMs or traveling. So could you imagine traveling, meeting people, networking, going to New Orleans, and you're feeling vibrant, and then you're going back to this 9 to 5. Now, because you love people, you didn't mind serving the people with health insurance, and you didn't mind, marketing, because that's what I have a background, a Bachelor of Science in marketing. But something felt like something kept killing my creativity. And that's not a good feeling when you start understanding yourself. And I don't think I understand myself as much as I do now because of Professor Melody, SAU, which is Soul Ascension University, me and Gillian, me and Jamesia, my soul team, Nancy and Linda. But before then, I still understood that I was a creative and I was a free person because I traveled around the world when I was 19. That creates something in you different. I told my mother, rest in power, I said, Mom, I feel like I'm dying. And I have my son, and I'm a single mom. And I think my son, I was hustling so hard, coming home at 10 o'clock at night, going to people's home to get them insurance, which was purposeful, but I was still dying inside. My mother told me, she said, Shone, it's okay, baby. Let that job go. I got you. And I'm gonna cry. When you have support and you feeling that you dying, but your mission is bigger, there's nothing like it. But you got to take a leap of faith. I mean, I want to give thanks. I don't remember the woman who was my manager, but I was going through it emotionally. And I mean, to the point where I was crying at my job in meetings. And she said, baby, I got you. Let's go to church, which was in the Bronx. Let's go to church. And I said, okay, let's pray. But I told her, I said, it's not you, it's me. My soul is dying. I can't do this anymore. It's nothing about the job. You are beautiful. You're a beautiful manager, but my soul is dying. And then she shared a story with her being a mom and how God opened the doors for her because she didn't have enough money to pay her rent, but she needed a new apartment because her children need to be, somewhere stable and have food and stability. And she didn't have it. She prayed to her landlord, just give me a moment. I'm going to find the money. And I said to her, thank you for being a light. I said, but I'm good. God got me and I can't do this no more. The next day, a couple of days, they let me go. And I was like, hallelujah. Thank you very much. I am good. And I remember telling some of the people there, I said, if this is not your end game and you want to be a nurse, finish school and go be a nurse. Don't let this consume you if you have bigger dreams. And I left with love and light and I never looked back. And from there on, I had a house. I was house poor at the time. But let me tell you, I was at peace and I was figuring out my next step. And I had support from my mother. And there's nothing like that. And after that, 2012, for the next 10 years, I became a realtor, flipped houses, made investments, traveled, and took care of my baby. I was around my baby every day. He saw me. We had connections. So I say this, while you thriving through your chaos, talk to your spirit team. Look to see who's your support when you think it's not possible, because it is.
And if you don't have a physical support person or persons like Reshonah did, you got that spirit team. They always ready, willing, able. So never ever think that you're alone in the process.
Ever. Because you'll meet strangers because y'all soul connect, and then they feed you what you need. You be like, I remember because I left my job, or they let me go, but I already left spiritually. And I remember having to take my son to school. And I remember I was hustling, just doing odd jobs. We could go on, but it's another segment, right? And so I could figure out, and I remember I had to go to the train and I didn't have any money to take him to school. And I was so emotional on the corner, like how I'm going to do this. Am I going to ask the token booth to just let me go. You know, I was in my ego and my feelings. And let me tell you how spirit worked. The woman came up to me and she said, "Good morning, how are you?" And I said, "I'm good." She said, "Here." And she gave me $5. And I went in tears because I always gave people swipes to go on a train for free. And that day I just needed some support. And it's like spirit just knew I needed that. And I said, "You have no idea what you just did." And I just swipe for people because you never know. And even though I was dressed and my son was dressed, you don't know what people are going through. It's not forever, it's a meantime. But that was part of my journey to ascend. And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for the support, the strangers. I just love you all to get me where I am today. It is real. It is real. But you gotta be kind. You gotta be kind. You gotta be kind and giving.
Yeah, that's really important, because a lot of the times, on both ends, or not even a lot of the times, all the time, it's like a test or a task to see how you will respond, so that, because both sets of spirit teams are working, right? So you're prompted to give that help, that you see that person, you're prompted to give that assistance. Are you going to give it and something else flow into your day that you didn't expect? Or are you going to turn away and keep going, and that miracle that you were hoping for, or you didn't even realize you needed, can just pass you by and wait for the next time to see if you'll respond accordingly so that it can fall into your lap. So that's another aspect of this whole process of being in a space where you need help. It's and strangers coming into your life, or your support system coming in and giving you the help. It's not just for you, it's also for them. So that's why it's important that we be mindful of how we respond when we see situations like that, or sense situations like yours. Yeah, because when you are on this spiritual path and you know it, you're conscious of it, nothing is coincidental.
Facts.
Even me having to go back into this job. So
Right. And all of those that you've mentioned are different series of getting out the loop for you to ascend. So I had to get out of the loop of saying it's okay to receive, right? You had to get a loop and say, okay, I'm going back in the job, but then okay, it's meaningful, so it's okay. Your mind was set differently, so that allowed you to ascend. It's understanding, getting out the loop of I guess I guess in a sense of the loop of, is it possible, right? Because a lot of times we stick in this loop of, it's not possible, so I'm not going to go do anything different. This is the only thing that it is. But when you get out of the loop of saying that anything is possible, you jump out of that loop, because now spirit's like, oh, she's ready, she gets it, she can create. You can create this. You're not stuck.
yeah,
You know, and that's hard sometimes.
yeah,
Because that actually is the very start to get you out of many loops.
yeah. For real. Because when the challenges hit, even in the job situation, depending on your reaction or your response, the difference is reaction is when we just jump into acting on the stimulus we're receiving without thinking about it first, while a response is where you sit back and well, why is this happening? And with time and doing that, because sometimes you don't have a lot of time to sit back and think about why is this happening, but you can still take a break and just be, which is something that I talk about in Thriving Through Chaos. You can excuse yourself, or you can ask questions to give yourself time to be able to respond in a way that is that doesn't lower you in a sense. So sometimes when those challenges pop up, man, you gotta be. If you don't know yourself, and if you're not consciously on a spiritual path and understanding that those challenges are meant to try to throw you off track, to see if you're really
Yes.
committed
Oh my
to your
God.
process. And again, if you keep on task, and like for instance, for me, for the book launch, the banner was delivered to somebody else's address, so I didn't get it in time. If I had folded, like, no, I don't want to do this because I don't have that, or had gotten into a tizzy and gone off on somebody and basically cussed somebody out, or been in my feelings about that, I can guarantee you that other things would have been going wrong, and it would have just been the things that I'm receiving now from remaining steadfast in that process and allowing things to just flow, and understanding that it's all just an illusion, and it's not about the things, the challenges. It's about how I respond to the challenges in order to achieve another level of ascension. That's the key. So being mindful, it's a good trait to develop.
And Jamesia, for you, I know that it's been a whirlwind of different out the loops of jobs and mixing with your soul, right, of the freedom, the person that you are. How has that been for you? You know, dealing with the job. I know my soul purpose. I don't really belong in a job, but I might have to do it. But I'm not supposed to be doing it. Like, how's this going for you?
Listen. Yeah, so oh honey. It's a lot, y'all. I'm not gonna, yeah, it's been a thing for me, literally all my life, right? So I didn't even have my first job because I was so not into jobs until like late. I don't know. I think I was in college when I got my first job, and babe, I stayed a while though, but it didn't feel right. I knew very early that I'm not supposed to be working for nobody. And so with that being said, y'all will hear my story on part 2 of Soul Mission versus jobs. Okay, y'all will definitely hear my story. We're gonna get into that some more so that y'all can, and we're gonna touch on some other things, y'all. Miss Gillian, honey, and Miss Reshonah carried this episode so phenomenally. Your stories are very touching, very amazing. And to those who watch when we release it, and to those who watch later, I really hope that you guys take in what they said, because it's so important to have whether it's a physical team, right, like Reshonah had, or whether it's simply your spirit guides, like Gillian talked about, leading you. Like everything that you need is within you. And once we realize that and know that, understand that, overstand that, and understand that, then we then, you know, become very successful in the things that we trying to create, you know what I'm saying, trying to move through and things and things like that. So yeah, we're gonna touch on it. I promise y'all, we're gonna touch on it. But y'all know me, you know, I came into this podcast in the loop of this overbooking. So
Yes.
I'm gonna head to my game, and these beautiful ladies gonna carry on with their day. But I promise we'll be back for episode 6, part 2 of Soul Mission
Mission versus
the
the
job.
job.
Okay.
I
We
love
love
it.
y'all so good. We appreciate
I
y'all
love
so
y'all.
good. Thank
Thank
y'all
you.
so much for watching. Until next time,
Like,
we out,
share,
y'all.
subscribe, comment. See you
Mhm.
next
And dig deep.
episode.
Oh, wait. And also too, guys, remember, we are doing the email thing. If you need advice
Yes.
on anything, if you need whatever you need, honey, we are here for you. We got 3 brains, okay? And 3, 4, 6 eyes, okay? Stop playing with us. We got
And
it all right
we
here
won't
on
say your
Alpha
name
Group.
on the live, so
Yes,
feel
we will
free.
not disclose that information, but we will help you with the situation live, because if you're thinking about it, somebody else is. That's just the
Correct.
way they're all connected, right? Especially as
Yes.
spiritual beings. That's just the way it is, right? And so with that being said, y'all, we love y'all so
We
good
love
again. I
y'all.
love you ladies so
Love you
good.
more.
And I'm grateful. Let me tell y'all this one other thing. I know I'm supposed to. I just love the fact this is what you call soulmates. This is what y'all call a team, right? I know, guys, I apologize that I was not here majority of the episode, baby, but my sisters over here, baby, they carried this thing, honey, and they did it phenomenally. I'm so grateful to y'all for having my back, right? And taking this episode and doing what y'all did with it and speaking from your heart and all of that good stuff. So thank you, ladies, for that. I love y'all so much.
Love you back.
Anytime. Love you,
Enjoy.
good.
Yeah.
Take some ball.
Oh, yep.
Correct. Absolutely. That's the team for y'all, y'all. If y'all don't know about it, get into it, honey.
Get into it.
Peace.
Peace.